I sponsored a cheerful and generous girl from the mountain. In the supermarket, I picked up a bunch of bananas and was just about to pay when the girl I sponsored suddenly covered her mouth and looked at my boyfriend with a sly smile. Brother Kelvin, does Sister Carlin buy bananas to use in the middle of the night? I posted on social media about wanting to lose weight, and she quickly commented, Brother Kelvin's eyesight has been cured. Does Sister Carlin think you've gained weight? She was lively and cheerful, but her demeanor was built on the suffering of others. After spending time with someone like her, my depression worsened, leading me to contemplate suicide. After my death, Madge continued to receive support according to our sponsorship agreement, living carefree and happy. With the media's portrayal, she transformed into a kind-hearted girl who worked hard and was grateful for her sponsorship, becoming a big internet sensation. In my second life, I found myself looking at a girl covered in dirt and gazing at me with longing. I want to go to school. I smile. After drifting for decades, my soul was reborn. I returned to when I was 20 years old. That time, and I were on a road trip, and stayed at a villager's home in a relatively remote mountain village. In my past life, I had sponsored a girl from this village to go to school. With my help, she successfully got into college. But in college, she became competitive and showy, failing even her level for English exam. I thought she might be struggling to adapt. I invited her to stay with us. Little did I know, it was like inviting a wolf into the house. She was lively and cheerful but looked down on me from the bottom of her heart, thinking it was ridiculous that I, an orphan, could have so much wealth. In my previous life, I was overly naive because of Kelvin's protection and didn't realize her psychological oppression. In the supermarket, as I reached for the bananas to pay, she suddenly covered her mouth and mischievously glanced at my boyfriend. Brother Kelvin, does Sister Carlin really need to buy bananas in the middle of the night? I had posted about wanting to lose weight, and she quickly commented, Brother Kelvin's eyesight is cured? Does Sister Carlin think you've gained weight? On the surface, she acted obedient, but she was constantly undermining me, causing me to doubt myself. I had been an orphan all my life, with only a boyfriend I had loved for 4 years. Under repeated mental pressure, my depression, which developed after my parents' untimely deaths, worsened, leading me to choose suicide. Meanwhile, Madge suffered no consequences from my death. According to our sponsorship agreement, she received €4 on every month and, under the branding of an internet celebrity company, became a rising star from the mountain. And reaching the pinnacle of her life, I was helped by a kind-hearted person, but she passed away for some reason. I used to counsel her, but perhaps it was because she was an orphan that her thoughts were so extreme. She often lashed out at me, and I still bear many scars. Everyone, please don't misunderstand. I don't want to bring up this experience. I'm not trying to elicit sympathy. I just want to remind other girls to keep a certain distance from their sponsors when receiving aid. I hope everyone can learn from my experience and protect themselves. As my thoughts returned, I looked at the simple house in front of me and smiled. My soul had drifted for decades and had seen through much. My depression had long since healed. Dear Mountain Star, I want to see how you navigate this life. I knew that in half an hour, 2 girls would be pushed in front of me, Madge and her cousin. The owner of this house sensed that we were wealthy, so he deliberately had the 2 girls put on a sad performance in front of us to garner sympathy. There had once been a girl from this village who was sponsored by a wealthy person and later thrived, moving her family to the big city. In my past life, I had indeed felt compassion and sponsored Madge. Her cousin had been sponsored by another family, but I hadn't anticipated that the price of sponsorship would be so high that I would lose my life in return. I spent money and received nothing in return. Before long, under the moonlight, I raised my gaze and forced down the resentment in my heart. Hello? The newly arrived Madge spoke first. She was wearing tattered clothes, filthy, and even her fingernails were caked with dirt. Clearly, having endured a lot of hardship, she stepped closer to me, lifted her face, and gazed at me with admiration. You are so beautiful. Are you a fairy from heaven? My mom says fairies come to save us. I couldn't help but sneer inside. The higher she praises me now, the harder she will step on me later. Noticing my silence, her eyes darted around. Is it because I'm too dirty? It'll wash up first. Please don't leave, okay? I really like you. With that, she hurried to the faucet to wash her hands. But even as she scrubbed her hands until the skin nearly came off, I remained silent. She panicked immediately. Being young, she couldn't hide her true emotions well, and I could see resentment in her gaze as she looked at me, as if accusing me of my indifference. Indifferent? Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos." I would be even more ruthless in the future. Seeing that I was not responding, she exchanged a glance with her mother, who encouraged her, and stepped forward again. "Sister, I want to go to school. I want to give back to society," I replied. She was genuinely taken aback. After a long pause, she finally mustered the courage to ask, "I want to go to college. Can you sponsor me?" I laughed. In this lifetime, I didn't want to invite trouble into my home. Madge didn't expect me to refuse, and her fingers dug into her flesh. She glanced at her 2-year-old brother cradled in her mother's arms, and her heart sank. She knew she would never stand out in this family, and she directly knelt down. "Babe, I really want to study. Can you help me?" She knelt down, trying to morally blackmail me into compromising. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be swayed. I remained silent. The hope in her eyes slowly faded. Suddenly, as if struck by a thought, she turned to my boyfriend. "Kelvin, brother, can you take me with you? I promise I will be obedient." She bit her lip, looking timid yet bravely pursuing her dream. Anyone who saw her would undoubtedly admire her tenacity. If only she could hide the calculations and resentment in her eye, it would be even better. Seeing that I was agreeing, Kelvin, although not knowing why I'd refused so bluntly, didn't respond to her either. "Sorry, you'll follow my girlfriend's wishes." He subtly shifted his leg to avoid being grabbed by Madge. Upon hearing this, the resentment in Madge's eyes deepened. I had the memories of my past life, but Madge did not. Why should she resent a stranger? Just because I refused to sponsor her? If she were a child who knew how to be grateful, I would have certainly helped her. But unfortunately, not only that, in her past life, she even thought I owed her something. After my death, she could smear my name and step over my corpse to become a dazzling internet celebrity. In the end, we chose to sponsor Madge's cousin, Mamie. I could have chosen not to sponsor anyone, but I still wanted to help this girl. In my previous life, Mamie was inspiring. She worked hard and came out of the mountain. Moreover, she became a scientist, receiving high salary offers from major companies, which she turned down. I still remember her interviews on TV, and how admirable she was. I know it's hard for mountain children to get an education, and I understand the challenges of national development. I want to contribute to my country, help our nation grow strong, let our motherland prosper, and help more children from the mountains come out. In this life, I didn't want her to struggle so much. I didn't want such treasures to be tarnished. I wouldn't let one ungrateful person make me reject all children. When we left, Madge still wouldn't give up, desperately clinging to the car door. "I want to study too. I'm really good at studying." She ignored the dirt on her hands and grabbed the car door, leaving a muddy mark on the window. Her eyes were full of hope. "But I don't want to sponsor you." I swatted her dirty hand away and rolled up the window. I watched her face slowly pale. My boyfriend and Mamie didn't say anything to intervene, which I found reassuring. As the car drove further away, I could still see Madge running after us in the rearview mirror, as if chasing a fortune that had slipped away. In her rush, she stumbled and fell into a puddle of dirty water, receiving a sharp slap from her mother. I felt a rare sense of relief. If it weren't for her incessant brainwashing and insinuating that my boyfriend didn't love me and might be cheating on me, I might not have committed suicide. My boyfriend Kelvin was my biggest emotional support, and I genuinely believed he had betrayed me, which shattered my greatest belief. Only after my death did I realize she was two-faced. coupled with a deteriorating mental state and Kelvin becoming increasingly busy. That's how we ended up in such a situation. Meanwhile, she enjoyed the limelight, stepping over my corpse to present herself to the public as an dazzling internet celebrity. How could I not hate her? Now she had only received a slap, which was far from enough to alleviate my resentment, because we were with Mamie. We didn't continue our trip and return to our long-lost little home. Felt as though years had passed since everything had happened. In my past life, Kelvin never remarried after I died. We were both orphans and had always been each other's emotional support. Madge had once thought about marrying Kelvin. After all, he was young and accomplished, already the owner of a foreign-rate company, earning tens of millions annually. Unfortunately for her, Kelvin truly loved me, and Madge's plans were thwarted. I felt furious at my past foolishness. Kelvin and I arranged for Mamie to transfer to a boarding school, where she would only come back on weekends. After all, Mamie was not a child anymore, and living with us all the time was not convenient. Mamie was incredibly grateful. Once she entered her new school, she neither compared herself to others nor felt inferior. She focused on her studies. Even the teachers sometimes couldn't help but praise Mamie for her diligence. Watching her slowly catch up with the curriculum made me happy. In this life, I thought she would surely get into a better university. Sometime, when I had free time, I would buy her little gifts to ease her mental pressure, reminding her to study according to the curriculum without stressing too much. I cherished this rebirth. And to prevent my depression from relapsing, I insisted on going out with friends once a week. I actively participated in various club activities, pulling myself out of my own world. I thought that since I didn't sponsor Madge this lifetime, she would remain in the mountains, wasting her life. Unfortunately, life always goes as planned. Madge still managed to leave the mountain. This time, I didn't sponsor her, someone else did. I encountered Madge when I was about to go downstairs to buy some soy sauce. At first, I thought I'd mistaken her for someone else, although Madge still looked malnourished. She was dressed quite well now, wearing a full set of branded sportswear. My feet instinctively stopped moving. Madge also saw me, and the uncertainty she had a year ago was gone from her eye. When she saw me, her expression was very complex, hinting at curiosity. Jasmine. My pupils constricted sharply. That was Madge's account ID from her past life, after she became famous. Everyone affectionately called her Tian. Madge had actually reincarnated too. I struggled to suppress my emotions and didn't let them show. Madge seemed to want to test me. After all, I hadn't adopted her in this life, and she likely suspected I had also been reborn. Seeing my calm expression. You've been reborn, right? Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. I knew it. How could I wake up still in that hellhole? You're really just pretending to be kind. You knew it'd become an internet celebrity. And you're jealous, wanting me to die in the mountains? Did you think that by sponsoring me, you were doing a deed? I hate people like you, wealthy but hypocritical, using sponsorship as an excuse to keep a dog around to show off your superiority. Are you shocked to see me now? You're willing to give me 10 million now. I might consider letting you off the hook. She wore a confident expression, as if she truly believed she was a pearl covered in dust, willing to accept my flattery before her true brilliance was revealed. I felt a wave of nausea. Even in this new life, I was still shocked by this ungrateful wretch. I suppressed my emotions and pretended not to understand, frowning as I looked at her. Who are you? I don't recognize you. She looked at me suspiciously. I maintained my composure, staring back at her calmly. She didn't seem worried that her words would get out. Since she had been reborn and had the successful experience of her past life, she probably didn't see me as a threat at all. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come at me with such bravado. I stepped aside and walked toward an nearby convenience store. I was foolish enough to nod at Madge and reveal that I was also reborn. That wouldn't benefit me in any way. On the contrary, it would only make Madge wary of me. I wouldn't allow myself to make such a foolish mistake. I tried to keep my steps steady, as if I were truly mistaken for someone else. Feeling the gaze behind me fixed intently on me, I instinctively tightened my grip on my phone. I worked hard to steady my emotion, my mind racing with thoughts of revenge. What Madge would think about why I hadn't adopted her in this life was not within my consideration. If someone is reborn, what would you do? Naturally, you would take the shortcuts you discovered in your previous life and strive to work hard for a few more years. A few days later, I came across a video of Madge on Douyin. She sat in front of the camera, her eyes red-rimmed. What she said sent chills down my spine. Hello everyone, my name is Madge, and I am a child from deep in the mountain. I have a cousin who was adopted a year ago. In making this video to seek everyone's help, I hope you can assist my cousin in escaping from a terrible situation. My cousin was adopted by a couple, and that girl suffers from severe depression, being extremely unfriendly to those around her. My cousin has been living under this girl's oppression. My cousin has countless scars on her body. She once called us, crying, saying that family was abusing her. There's even a burn on her back from hot water almost 70 degrees. Now, as her cousin who has left the mountain, first thing I want to do is ask everyone online to help my cousin. To help us poor sisters. It's already so hard for us to come out of the mountains. We just want to study well, so please help us. She cried with red eyes, and combined with her thin and dark appearance, she truly looked like a child raised in the mountain. Instantly, netizens were filled with righteous indignation. They followed the clues and quickly dug up Madge's hometown and family situation. I had thought that Madge would continue making money through the internet, but I never expected that she would choose to step on me to gain traffic. She disregarded everything, turning black into white, insisting that she was the victim, and no matter how I explained, netizens would side with her. She had the protective cloak of being part of a vulnerable group. In this age of information, such distortions of human nature can easily capture the audience's attention. I was almost immediately exposed. Even my boyfriend, Kelvin, was drawn into the public scrutiny alongside me. Netizen, sitting at their keyboards and without understanding the truth, attacked us from a moral high ground. In no time, my personal social media accounts and Kelvin's company's social media accounts were filled with various insults. Mamie had been sent to a boarding school, and today was only Thursday. She hadn't finished classes and had no phone. Unable to prove our innocence, seemed to confirm our guilt through silence. Even though many of my friends spoke up for me, saying that my depression had long been cured, netizens refused to listen, using their self-proclaimed Sherlock Holmes minds to maliciously reason out the truth, twisting it to fit their desired narrative. Madge's account exploded in popularity overnight, gaining over 400 followers. I could have easily pursued her for defamation, but at that moment, I needed to focus on endless self-validation. When Mamie went to school, she would leave the phone I bought for her with me. I saw the message Madge sent. Mamie, you don't cooperate with me in this act. Your parents will definitely tie you up and make you marry an old man. You better behave, or I'll call Uncle right away. You wouldn't want the rich life you've just gained to disappear, would you? I've heard there's an old bachelor in the village willing to pay 100 for a wife. If you don't want to be sold, you'd better do as I say. Madge thought that having been reborn, it would be easy to manipulate a child. Unfortunately, she underestimated me. Hers were all bluster. She couldn't have told her family about this matter, so her uncle wouldn't cooperate with her plan. She harbored deep resentment toward her original family. And even after Madge became famous in her previous life, she still had to support her entire family lavishly. Her father was particularly greedy, demanding 1 million from Madge each year. Madge absolutely wouldn't want her family to know about her newfound fame. Otherwise, she would be swarmed again by a bunch of bloodsuckers. Understanding all of this, I placed my phone back where it was and didn't delete the message. I knew Mamie wouldn't let me down, but that didn't mean I would make choices for her. If I misjudged someone in this new life, I still had enough ability to handle it. I wouldn't allow myself to be in a precarious position. I hired a private investigator to keep an eye on Madge's every move. The couple sponsoring Madge was an elderly pair living in the same community as us. They had encountered Madge while traveling, where she was selling oranges by the roadside. shouting to passing cars. She was carrying a bamboo basket that was almost bigger than she was, repeatedly emphasizing how delicious her oranges were and detailing the hardships of her family. The couple's hearts softened as a result. However, Madge's family didn't even grow oranges. I was sure that at that moment, Madge had indeed been reborn. She wouldn't confine herself to that mountain for life, so she thought of this way to escape. The outcome showed that she had succeeded. And grievances from my tragic death of my previous life weighed heavily on me, and now that I saw Madge again, I could hardly control my hatred. After the events of the past few days, the Jasmine account had surpassed 1 million followers. I wondered if Madge was now reveling in her own cleverness, but she was clearly a bit anxious. As soon as her follower count reached 1 million, she hurriedly started a live broadcast. The heat was high, and she nearly broke into tears of joy at the sight of all the comments. But remembering that her broadcast was an act, she forced herself to endure. Thank you all for your support. I hope you can help us. It's really not easy for us to come out. The comments flooded in, filled with sympathy. This scum dressed in the guise of a benefactor deserves to die. Right. I suspect this kind of person is inherently evil. Perhaps her parents were harmed by her. As I read these comments, my blood boiled. How dare these people? They knew nothing and spoke so viciously about someone they had never even met. Made over 200 euro in a single night of streaming. I thought she must be feeling proud of her cleverness at that moment. Clever? I took out my phone and dialed a number. It was Madge's mother's number. When the call connected, I pretended to be surprised. Excuse me. Are you Madge's parent? Our company thinks Madge is great. She earned 10 indeed in one night and has a promising future. Can we offer her a monthly salary of 100 euro to sign a contract? I heard Madge's mother get excited on the other end, but worried that I was a scammer. Her sharp voice came through, laced with skepticism. How come I didn't know my daughter was with them? Trying to trick me? That brat could make so much money. How could I not know? Would she dare not tell me? I couldn't help but chuckle coldly inside. At this moment, Madge was probably still planning how to get rid of family. So of course, she wouldn't tell them. But I was determined to outsmart her. I guided Madge's mother to check out Madge's Douyin account. Upon seeing Madge really had 1 million followers, Madge's mother was so excited she started shouting. This ungrateful girl has so many followers and didn't even tell her. Has she grown wings? You just said you wanted to sign a contract. Just transfer the 100 euro directly to me. I pretended to be hesitant. I'm sorry, Chen. Although we think highly of Madge and want to sign a contract with you right now, we still need her consent. Your unilateral agreement as her guardian isn't enough. Upon hearing my word, how could Madge's mother let such a fat piece of meat slip away? Almost the next evening, I saw Madge's father and mother, looking worn out, intercepting Madge at the entrance of our community. Madge tried to run, but her mother grabbed her hair fiercely. Stupid girl, living it up out here by yourself? Your parents are still eating nothing but scraps in that mountain valley. From now on, you need to send 150 euro back home every month. Don't think I don't know you're a social media influencer now. If you dare try to outsmart me, it'll make you regret it. After saying this, she noticed the designer clothes Madge was wearing and felt even angrier. She slapped Madge hard across the face. Wearing such nice thing? Do you really think you become a phoenix? Take them off. It'll take them back for your brother to wear. Those old folks give you quite a bit of living expenses every month. Hand it over. Madge's head was buzzing from the blow, but she stubbornly clung to her clothes, refusing to let go. Madge's father was enraged too. He kicked her down to the ground. He'll teach you not to listen. You're my child. You think you can run away? This scene might have seemed infuriating to bystanders, but I found it quite satisfying. 'Cause in my previous life, after my death, Madge had also insulted my corpse like this. I still remembered how she kicked me repeatedly, fitting on me as she did. You is like, do you really think you can boss me around just because you have a little money? You give 4 a month and go around saying you're so kind. Fooling? Don't think I don't know that your dead parents left you tens of millions. With all that money, you won't even spend a little on me. I told you I couldn't get into college. And you still refuse to send me abroad for study? Is 200 a month too much for you? Then naturally took the phone away, smiling as he said, "You never used to watch these kinds of emotional videos. Is it fun to use the guise of sponsorship to treat me like your pet dog? And you still ended up dead. Bedridden. Do you know why your symptoms keep worsening? Because when you're asleep, I always play some music that affects your sleep." I was furious. I always said I was actively seeking treatment. So why couldn't I escape the terrifying nightmare? Because of those nightmares, I couldn't sleep well all night, tormented by my inability to rest. And coupled with my depression, I'd read the arrival of night. After I died, Matt pretended to be very sad, helping to collect my body and sending me off for the last time. Netizens praised her for repaying kindness with kindness. Only I knew how humiliating my death was. I could only watch helplessly as the person who killed me continued to take my money, stepping on my corpse to become the dazzling star of the mountain. How could Madge possibly send back 150? She was pushed to the edge by her parents. Thinking of me, she believed she understood me and knew my soft spot. So she sent me an intimidating message. "This is the price you pay for not sponsoring me back then. Your depression has deepened, hasn't it? Transfer 20 million to my account. I can close my account and help you clarify things. Just wait for the online backlash. That time, I might just post your address online." Mamie came back for the weekend, and she also saw that message. Instantly, her eyes turned red with anger. How could there be such a shameless person? "Don't worry, Sister Carlin. I'll clarify things for you right away. Whether you've abused me can be seen from my grades and my current appearance." I felt relieved. I knew Mamie must have seen those threatening messages from Madge earlier. But she still chose to help me clarify things, that she had made her decision. I was glad I hadn't misjudged her in this life. I waved my hand, signaling that it wasn't necessary just yet. Let the bullets fly for a while longer. How could I repay kindness with kindness and simply let her off after a momentary thrill? The moment I learned that Madge had also been reincarnated, I knew she would take the path of social media again. So I invested in starting a media company. I had the person in charge of the company extend an olive branch to Madge, offering her 150 a month on the condition that she must drop out of school. Madge had been fond of studying, and she probably thought that since she had been reborn, she would need a diploma to succeed, relying solely on her memories from her previous life. Despite the old couple's objections, she resolutely dropped out of school. The old couple was disappointed in her and ultimately breached their agreement, stopping their financial support. However, knowing she was alone and helpless, temporarily allowed her to stay with them. Madge didn't mind. She was daydreaming about her bright future, but fate had other plans. On the day Madge signed the contract and prepared to start her live, I hit her with a series of evidence in her school, issued withdrawal certificate, revealing to the public that everything was fabricated by Madge alone. Her persona as a studious person was all a lie. The comments immediately turned against her, filled with anger from those who felt deceived. They had thought they were upholding justice, only to find out they had been used as pawns. How could they be happy about that? As a result, Madge's follower count plummeted, and the comment section became a battlefield. As expected, people from poor mountains are all ungrateful. I even encouraged her to report it. I knew she was lying all along. If not, why didn't she report it when her cousin was abused? Abusing minors is a crime. A bunch of ladyscomers. You didn't say that back then. You reasoned it out and believed it was true. How could someone like her ever make it out of the mountains? Go die. I watched the insults in the comments section, feeling nothing but scorn. Madge panicked. She wanted to endure the insults and continue live, hoping to rake in money. Unfortunately, the country wouldn't give her that opportunity. As a minor who had dropped out of school and publicly spread false information, she had caused a very bad influence, leading to her account being banned. I instructed the person in charge to demand payment directly. Madge's contract was for 3 years, and since the guarantee payment was high, her penalty for breach was astronomical 20 million. How could Mitch ever afford that? When she refused, I had people visit her daily to harass her. Eventually, the old couple, unable to bear the stress, sent her back home. When her parents saw she had been sent back, they were furious and gave her a beating. They then directly arranged for her to marry that old bachelor she had mentioned. Concerned that she might not be properly taken care of, I arranged for a sum of money to ensure he would look after Madge well. Of course, I didn't forget to have the old bachelor play that nightmare-inducing music after Madge fell asleep, treating her with her own methods. And he was unable to accept the disparity and not daring to believe how badly she had ended up after being reborn. Madge fell into postpartum depression after giving birth to a child for the old bachelor. But who would care about her condition? As a result, she followed the same path as I did in my previous life, choosing to commit suicide by wrist-cutting when the old bachelor tried to force himself on her again. I had intentionally let the heat continue to ferment. Madge's accusations climbed to the top of the social charts at that time. On one hand, I wanted Madge to fall harder. On the other hand, I had my own selfish motives. I wanted to establish an account with some popularity. The Douyin account where I published evidence became popular as well. I easily gained over 800 followers. I didn't choose to sell products or stream for gift. I positioned the account as a sponsorship account. I had the company share more about the reality of children in mountainous areas who couldn't afford education, encouraging more people to pay attention to these children. Through the internet, I wanted to make more people aware that there were still some who wished to contribute to the country by leaving the mountains. I also opened a donation channel, donating every month in the name of Kelvin. Because of my initiative, more and more people noticed these children who longed to study, and they began donating alongside me. I would also publicly disclose where the money went. By the time Mamie graduated from university, we had already helped over 20 children leave the mountains. I can't guarantee that none of these children are like Madge, but I will never regret my decision. I said before that I wouldn't deny all children because of one person. I will do my best to help the children who truly need help. I wish them all a bright future. Mamie graduated from a top school, just like in my previous life, and continued to contribute to the country's development. Kelvin and I also got our marriage certificate.